Unity 2020.1 introduced the Focus Inspector window, which allows you to inspect the properties for a specific game object, component, or asset. It always displays the properties of the item you open it for, even if you select something else in the scene. Let's take a look how we were doing this before now. In this panel, we have different game objects and we can click on them to see their properties in the inspector panel. Inspector panel also shows all the components attached to that particular object. Let's say I want to see the properties of a specific game object all the time, even I click the other game object. So this is the old way of doing it. Open a new inspector panel. So now we have two inspector panels. I'm going to dock one at the bottom. Let's click on a player cube. You see the properties are changing in the both panels. To hold the properties of one panel, what we can do is click on this lock button. Click on any game object. Now you will see the properties in the bottom panel will not change. We use this technique when we need to inspect something in the game object, and it's a useful way of looking at the properties in the real time. Using this, we are looking at two game object properties, but we can add more windows to inspect other game objects as well. And of course, you can change the properties of game object in the real time. You can change the transform component and other components to see the different effects on the player. Here I am making a changes in the Z direction while I am looking at the properties of the main camera. Exit the play mode and close the inspector panel, and now we will take a look how the focus inspector works. Right click on any game object. I'm taking player cube. At the very bottom you will see the properties. Click on it. This reveals a floating inspector window that you can reposition, dock, or resize like any other window. And we can also open a property window for a specific component as well. Dock it here and let's see what's the visible difference between these two. Both look similar, but with the difference of this lock icon, we don't have the lock icon on focus inspector panel, as it always be appear. Now click on play button to see how this actually works. As we can see, we are clicking on different game objects, but the focus inspector panel that we open for the player cube is always be appear. It make it really easy to debug and inspect different values of a game object. Exit the play mode. Let's try more focus inspector windows. This time I want to inspect the properties of main camera. The process is the same. At the very bottom, select properties, and here we have the property panel for main camera, and I will dock this window under the player cube. So now we have three panels. One is inspector window, player cube window, and main camera window. So now we have two focus inspectors. One is for player cube and one is for main camera. Start the play mode and see how this goes. As you can see, these windows are staying at their positions and we can inspect multiple game objects at the same time in real time, and of course we can change their values. Changing the Y position of the main camera. Now altering the Z value and altering the X value. Suppose this is my hyper casual game and I want to try a new camera angle in the game, so I made changes in the main camera. And now suppose I want to experiment with different light settings for my game. Right click on light component and select properties of directional light game object. As I told you earlier, we can also have a focus inspector panel for a specific component as well. If any game object have 5 different components, we can open 5 different focus inspector windows for them to inspect them. Enter the play mode and we will experiment with different light settings. First we will be experimenting with light color. And now let's try different lightings. If you are prototyping your game and you need to experiment with different components to match the look and feel of your final experience, so it's a very handy way of doing it. It's really boost up overall process and save you a lot of time. And if you know which component you are going to inspect on a game object, I would recommend you only open a property of that component, as it will take less space on your screen. Let's exit the play mode. If you are done with any window or you don't need it anymore, click on these 3 dots and close tab to save the space or to open other window. You can quickly reset to default layout if you are done with all the focus inspector panels. This way you don't have to manually close all the windows. The alternate way of opening focus inspector window by menus is selecting the game object and going to assets and select properties. In Unity editor, if we have open multiple windows and we want to see all the open windows that we have open in Unity editor, we can always go to Windows, select panels, and here is the list of all the open windows, including the floating windows. We can select any window to open it or to focus on that. It is recommended to open a one window at a time and dock it in the Unity editor so you don't lose the focus on other window. So here I'm quickly reopening and docking all the windows. Another useful tip is if we hover the cursor over the window name, it will show you the complete path of that component. And at the last, if it's a script, then name of the script. First, we have the scene name to which this component is belonged to. Then we have a game object name to which this component is attached. If you are working on a big project and you have hundreds of game objects in the hierarchy view, and you also have opened a multiple focus inspector windows, right click on the window name and select ping. It will highlight the game object in the hierarchy view. And you quickly want to know this focus inspector window belong to which game object in the scene. Let's try this one more time with the plane track. Now let's ping the main camera. In this video, we have covered focus inspector windows even with the small techniques. But when we use all these in a combination, it really boosts the work process and save you a ton of time and overall enhance your productivity. I hope this video helps you. If you have any question, you can always ask me. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next.